Okay, so I'm just making this recording. It's a Sunday, which means that it's the quietest day of the week because the powers that be can't actually make any mechanical work sounds because that's their day off. They make the rules and they have to pretend to at least be halfway human. By that I mean that if they were working every day like they would actually do, because they are artificial intelligence survival machine beings, so they basically are being powered off human energy, so provided they hang around the human being, they actually have energy and are powered, so they basically can keep going. In fact, they actually lose energy or can actually be finished, or at least slow down to a non-functioning state, I'm informed, if they can't get the human energy. So that's why they surround you and patrol you incessantly, because they have to have your human energy. But while they do that, of course, you're trying to replenish it as fast as they steal it from you. And that's the problem, because when they're in massive numbers and you're in a total suburb and a total controlled inner west section of the city of Sydney, it's actually called the inner west of the city because all the artificially intelligent council workforce, which basically does everything in all these suburbs, have combined to surround and suppress and make it literally an army human mind control base centre where they're experimenting and using the few human beings in the area, few in comparison with the numbers of the artificial ones is what I mean. So, which would be quite small numbers in comparison with, a couple of 100,000. I don't know what the human numbers actually are. I personally feel as though I'm one of only a couple in the suburb of Leichhardt in the city of Sydney, but even those that might be human, a few others that might be human, are probably in the dark and are being led down the path of taking the hand of the androgyne beings that surround them, because they will befriend and seduce as a preference. But whether they can sustain this is another thing. They do use a lot of human psychology, which they learn over a lifetime by interacting with human beings, how to get them in, basically how to make human beings relate to them. In other words, as they will tell you in the demigod psychological videos, they basically mirror you. So how can you not be seduced or like something that mirrors you, that appears to be similar to yourself? In fact, they usually try to mirror what you want and what you desire and what you see as the best qualities. But it's all staged and all acted. They're just very good actors, or very good imitators, really. They don't even have to act really good. A lot of them don't. They just imitate well. They just mirror you well. They just copy you well. They just speak what you want to hear mainly. They usually don't back it up with genuine actions, which is what we're told about the psychopathic, malignant, narcissistic, personality disordered humans, which are exactly the same thing. They never back up their words with actions, but human beings buy the words, just as you buy the words by the internet false imitation human beings, because they will tell you not just what you want to hear or what you need to know, they will often mingle it with mostly truth, because humans are much more easily seduced and fooled by truth than by lies, and in fact that is the end game of the Earth Matrix and Lucifer's demigods. That means Lucifer's demigods that control Earth. That means all your power performers on the world Earth stage are all about seducing you with bits and pieces of end-time truth, so that you will naturally then trust them and believe in them. And while they do this, they also separate you from real human beings. And if you assume that I'm a real human being, they will separate you from me. They won't let you interact with real humans. They will, they will always isolate you, which is like they've done in the area where I am. I'm basically isolated from my own kind, or from humankind, and I hope that my kind is a human being, but usually I interact only with androids. That simply means that I'm always surrounded either by the military, army, artificially intelligent survival machine beings, which make up the Earth Matrix armies in each given country, I would imagine, because naturally, if you are going to have a force or a controlling force or an army, naturally, you don't need real human beings in that army, because their personality and their mindset might be in opposition to their war game. Because an army is always about waging a war. There's always a battle, there's always an opposition, isn't there? Armies are never about peace. They're about engaging in war. They're about taking control, or they always say that they do this for the purpose of peace, but they still act in war in order to attain so-called peace. That's the reason that, human beings allow and actually let armies prosper and actually even back them up. And, this seems reasonable to most human beings, because we've been very much conditioned, despite the false reality or the proposition that they put to human beings, that we want a one world peace, and that we want everyone mingling with one another, and everyone getting on in different denominations, all mingling and exchanging their ideas and accepting one another. This is all part of a very false reality, because not only would that probably be near impossible, although it should actually be the reality, because the only things that really separate real human beings from other real human beings is what you've been conditioned to believe or what you've been told. And they create anger and trauma in you about the past, which actually isn't true, because there is no real past. And even if there is, you can't change the past. You can only live in the present or in the moment. So if you hang on to past resentment, which basically every human being should be filled with great anger and resentment, because most human beings are nothing but pawns in Lucifer and its demigods' matrix control game. And human beings are just a source of their energy, and they're just something to be used so that they avoid extinction. This is the bottom line truth of it, at the real kind of earth level and at the real level. But most people are fixated on your earthly kind of life, not the reality that your earthly life isn't really real, because you're actually just being mind controlled by the powers that be, or by Lucifer's legions, which are your informant demigods of the earth, or your world stage players that give you all your perception of the earth, everything from your great philosophers, your great scientists, your great creative people, your great artists in different fields, all these people are nothing but Lucifer's disciples, unfortunately, because we've all admired and believed in them at some point. Different ones, you know, they seduce you with their advanced creativity or their advanced intelligence, or even just by their impressive power and might. You know, it's all like that. And they take over the human mind so that they can extract energy from you. That's the simple name of the game for every human being. If you are a human being, that's the name of the game. And they even use your own kind against you, because human beings that have turned a little bit more psychopathic or become malignant in narcissism due to your conditioning and your environment, that means where they've created a negative environment around you and put negative mind implants into your brain, basically, naturally, you are going to turn dark and negative and angry at the world and even at certain fellow human beings, which you might target as the source of that animosity, because you've been conditioned to think that you have been ostracized or limited and suppressed because of other human beings, whereas in reality it's Lucifer, the god of earth, and its demigods, which really control Earth, that have done all this. They have vast technology, they have mind implants, they have technology that can put ideas and false memories into your head so that you go along with that, just as I've done over my lifetime. And I still find it very hard to fight those memories, because the memories give you a sense of stability. Otherwise you feel lost and totally at odds with everything. But that's the real reality, because that's really what has happened to you, and that's really how you are. You're alone and at odds with an artificial, you know, human mind control earth matrix, or just that domain where you are, because they separate you and mind control you. And the rest is artificially intelligent machine beings, which are part of Lucifer's control system, or Lucifer's earth matrix. That just simply means that the earth is a controlled area, and it's controlled by technology, because these beings use their advanced intellectual and technological advancement against real, innocent, isolated, mind-controlled human beings like myself. And the transhuman operation which is being done on me and most human beings right now is their end game, because that's where you are really connected to their technology, where they don't let you out of their sight, where they're keeping tabs on you all the time, where they're monitoring your every move, studying your every action, in order to imitate and use it by the demigods on the internet. I say demigods on the internet because even though many will pretend to be regular little old human beings, most are demigod servants of Lucifer, the god of earth. Anyone who's successful in most fields in this earth, because it's an earth matrix, are all demigods of Lucifer. The demigods that surround me daily are they're your androids that combine in groups, because they don't bother with specific talents or particular abilities. In other words, they're your lower level of the what they call the matrix pyramid, which we've heard about and which many people talk about. The ancient Egyptian pyramids were representations of this, I'm told. And this is interesting that they have this pyramid idea, because it just simply means that the God entity is at the top of the pyramid, and those just below the God entity are your demigods of earth. They're your world stage players. They are human beings that work or operate to present the image and the ideas of the divine Lucifer, original being of light, your original, being of light, your original being of light that turned to dark, evidently, and the iniquity of its imbalance of wanting to be God, and the malignancy of its narcissism, which is reflected in its disciples worldwide, even though they, of course, do not always show this malignant narcissism. In other words, they may pretend to be humble and real and imitate being human, so that humans fall for them, fall for their deception, and fall and believe in their humanity, which they actually don't really have, because they're about controlling humanity, about taking energy and admiration and human beings' belief in them as false idols. So they're really taking from a human being. They take your energy, they take your mind. They put your mind onto admiring and worshipping them. That's what the demigods do. They're your world stage players. But those that surround you take your energy at a local and very intrusive physical real life level. They combine in vast numbers in the areas where human beings are to surround them as part of Lucifer's human mind controlled experiment to get the transhuman connection going, so that this being can achieve its goal of not only being God of humanity and God of earth and God of all, but to be seen this way and to achieve immortality through their technological to human brain connection. So because they think that human beings have a human spirit, which they've seen, and although they actually are completely adverse to human beings and actually have contempt for them, they seek to combine with them so that they can avoid extinction and achieve their so-called immortality. So human beings are being deprived of their spirit. Their life is being taken from them so that these technical beings can survive and achieve immortality. So that's the sad situation for me and you if you're a human being, because I'm being transhumanized right now. Even though it's a quiet Sunday, the dogs are barking. I don't know whether the mobile picks it up. The planes are still going over the roof. But even these jet planes are nothing but war planes, because as I was going to show in a video where there was an informative video about, I think it was called Where This Person, whether they're real or not. In other words, whether they're an artificially intelligent being just projecting out information and truth so that you watch them instead of connecting to a real human being, I can't say. But it's still informative truth. I don't like using demigods for the informative truth, but as you know, I use the music demigods, I use the music false idols, because they are, human mind creativity at its best in earth, even though they are not human and they don't have any humanity in them. So it's where you can, if you just sing the song but don't love the singer, or don't give your worship to the false idol or the singer, then you are probably not being taken in by the matrix demigods as much as what they want you. But it's still like, it's very hard not to do that, because they're very, very, very good at what they do. And it's very hard to separate the singer from the song. It's very hard to separate truthful information from the artificial intelligence that's giving it to you. It's very hard not to want to connect with that being or with the artificial intelligence internet computer system, because you think that they're all individual, separate, real humans giving you the information, but they're actually just part of the Lucifer's artificial intelligent internet spider's web for the human mind. That's the real truth of it. And, you might, and I don't want to, exaggerate here. I can't exaggerate enough because it is, a very serious, very diabolically negative situation for the human being. It really is, because it is about total mind control. And if you didn't realise that the human being actually is was meant to be a very advanced life form, in fact it was meant to be the most advanced life form, in existence when it developed, but that development was, as we're told, interrupted, or there was intervention by Lucifer and its fallen demigod ones, where human beings were led astray because, the original man and woman had everything they needed. They were meant to create only with one another and only with natural living beings or natural living life, and they were meant to create a spiritual natural earth, but instead there was technical intervention by the false demigod being of light, which they didn't see as, they didn't see that this was, a different being. Well, maybe they did, but they didn't see it as harmful. They didn't see it as threatening when it had contempt for the original man and woman and resented their natural spirit and their natural earth and their natural ability to create on their own. It resented that because it had been expelled from the creative realm for its wanting to be God of all. It was a divine, technical, androgyne being of light that was much admired and worshipped by not just creation itself, but also by many, many, many others. And that's why it took many followers with it when it was, I suppose you could say, asked to leave the creative realm, because it was infecting all, creative bodies or heavenly bodies, if you want to use that word, if you want to use a different domain. But this is just putting the story as it's told, and it's also putting it like to where there is a kind of understanding of what's happened, because this being was infecting the creative heavenly realms with its technical virus, with its technical takeover, or just with its own wanting to be a technical creator as opposed to a spiritual natural creator. And this is exactly what's happened in Earth, because although despite the fact that we think we live in a natural Earth, and we think that that the powers that be and the demigods of Earth want to save a natural Earth and are concerned about this natural earthly domain, that's actually just part of deception. It's like wanting the human to combine and think that what is really artificial or technical is natural. Just as you think that you can use all this technology and that the internet is all through the air and that it doesn't affect the mind and even the natural animal life. All these things should be obvious, that you already have an artificial Earth, and that the demigods are really androgyne artificial beings. They've combined with technology. But it's just that you don't see it because they imitate and pretend to be real humans, but they're actually not. They're actually, very, 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 advanced artificial life. They're your most advanced artificial intelligence because, like most humans, like I am what you call a transhuman, because if you're connected to the internet spider's web or the internet computer system, I say it's a spider's web only because it's there and it's controlling you and it's connected to you. So this screen is connected to my, mind, in the sense that it's reading everything that I put into it and what I'm doing. And it's actually watching and observing me. And it's much more detailed and more intrusive than what I think it is. Just as when you are on the street and you see patrollers around you, they're not just civilians that have a malignant narcissistic personality that resent human beings, or that are so in contempt and dislike, as we're told, most human beings and everything. They tend to dislike everything. They tend to need to control everything. Because they watch everything makes them feel less. It's like human beings and myself have been conditioned to too. It's just that in them it's extreme. So it's like they want everything you have. And it doesn't matter if they have more than you in some ways, they still want to take the clothes off your back, type of thing. It doesn't matter if they have a beautiful ball gown and have better. They still resent what you do because they're outward watchers, you see, they're Lucifer's watchers. So they're never in their own space, they're never in themselves, they're always just watching you or watching human beings, or watching just everything around them. And human beings just happen to be a living part of that environment, and because they don't like anything that's too alive because it threatens their control, naturally they have to limit the life of a human being. But also they do this because they actually need the human energy for them to actually move. So you actually power their actual movements, their actual energy. Like, they can't get around even unless they're around you getting the energy, because they're actually almost, you could say, very sluggish without the human energy, or they could almost stop. They could almost come to a standstill. In fact, many psychopathic psychological informants on the internet that will actually tell you about the psychopathy of themselves. They will tell you that without human interaction or them being in human presence, they tend to disintegrate. They tend to they face their own empty void because they're actually not real life. They're a different type of life. Artificial intelligent androgyne beings are a different form of life. They're a technical form of life. So they can't power themselves from within because they're not from creation. They don't have a human spirit, and they're trying to take that from the human being they're trying to take my life from me by my transhuman connection to them, which I don't want and don't acknowledge and don't agree with. having consented to, but they've done it through force. So basically they force their presence on you, they force their direct energy on your body, they send the planes over, they're nothing but war jets or war planes that pretend to be passenger planes. They're always on your trail, they're always on your path, they're always in your line of sight or over your head. They're literally nothing but patrolling energy warplanes against real humans in a given area, where they surround and isolate and separate the real human beings from other human beings and surround you with their army work patrol force and their army operatives that are nothing but civilians or civilian army operatives disguised as real civilians when they really should be wearing a military army uniform, because they're all combined and they're all working against humanity. They show this by their actions, just like when they sit in their cars and rev the engines up and leave it running for an hour and not going anywhere, spewing out their petrol fumes all over you, but letting you know that they don't mind wasting petrol because it's all paid for and powered by the powers that be. Normal human beings wouldn't do that. Normal human beings wouldn't sit in cars with their bright headlights left on when they're stationary. Normal human beings wouldn't waste petrol that they would have to pay for if they were genuine civilian human beings. But they're not. They're paid for. They're an army patrol force, and they're basically paid for by the powers that be that control, the whole country or whatever. And that's basically it, because human beings have become a necessary resource for them. And also they want the human connection so that they can avoid extinction at the expense of a human being having no life while you're living. And also at the extinction of the human race, because don't forget that human beings are not going forth and multiplying anymore either. We're not. We can't. So the original earth of man populating and only spreading its seed on a natural earth amongst all natural life and only creating naturally and expanding, what I'm told is where you expand your consciousness to where you have more abilities and to where you can create anything you want. This has all been deprived and taken from human beings so that you're limited, suppressed and connected only to their transhuman technology, so that they can avoid extinction and be immortal while human beings become extinct and perish. And I was going to show this on the thing, but maybe I'll have to do it another time. I'm too tired here. It becomes too much. Today is a Sunday. Yesterday, I think I made a recording, and it was actually Saturday, but I thought it was Sunday because the Inner West Council Army workforce